Welcome back to Katrina Bramwell and Friends. And I want to tell you, Bram and I have swam oceans of technology issues today to be here with you. They had some, I had some, and so now we finally made it. I think that we're actually recording. So we are going to get into round two of interviews with one of my favorite people in the world, Bramwell Murphy. And I want to say my very favorite, and this is saying a lot, Bramwell tart, because I do so love a good Bramwell tart. That's how I could remember your name when you shifted names was that, okay, now what's sweet and what do you love? Like, Bram, there it is.
Next.
So welcome back, Bram. Now, Bram is a longtime CUSP practitioner. Now, we just released the new CUSP book. I got it in my hands yesterday, and it's color pictures, 100 new pictures, and it's just, and also hugely expanded text. It's just beautiful. And Eric and I were both really impressed with it. Even though we wrote it, we just didn't know it was going to come out that good when we saw it in print. It looks wonderful. And Bram was one of the people that gave testimony at the end of the book of people who have practiced for a really long time. And so we've known Bram for quite a while, and then came to know and love Bram's partner, Beck. And so, yeah, this is one of my kids, everybody. And how you doing, Bram?
Doing pretty well. And I could definitely still feel really magical even with it being a text that you've written, because it's come such a long way from being printed at like Office Max with like just a spiral binder.
Right?
Like seeing it in print and color is definitely a level of realization that's super cool.
You know, I have to actually even modify from the Office Max because Eric worked at a particular place that I won't mention at the time that was produced in spiral form. And those copies were compliments of the place where he worked. And then we sat in our floor with a saddle binder and put them all together.
Wow.
Yeah. And the saddle binder belonged to a really wonderful crone in the Sacramento area named Little Owl, who has since passed. She was in her 80s at the time.
Bless.
Yeah, and was just lovely. A fantastic drummer and shaman, just amazing. And she let us use her saddle binder for making those books. Now the original, this is fun. The original was a book called CUSP Light, Lite, and it was written by Wolf.
Oh, interesting.
And Wolf is one of our other longtime practitioners. And Wolf just put this together and said, we need to have a manual. We need to write this stuff down so that we can remember all this stuff. And that's where it came from. And I asked permission from Wolf can we develop this into an actual book, which we did. And this one, yeah, you're right. It's done. And we've updated, this is the 5th edition. So we've updated it as the practice has developed. And I think it's cooked. I think this is it. So I was real happy with it. So thanks for being a part of that, Bram.
Absolutely. It was an honor. That's so cool.
Yeah. So you have what I think is a pretty fascinating day job. Can you talk to us about that a little bit?
Yeah. So I work as a paralegal. So if you think of the analogy of what a nurse does in relationship to a doctor, a paralegal does that in relationship to a lawyer. I spend a lot of my time, I'm also a notary, but it's a lot of like essentially proofreading legal documents is a lot of what I do.
So do you have a field of expertise or is it just general law?
I do. My special expertise is in contract law.
That is very handy. So good for you. Is this a new practice for you? Because I don't think you did that here, did you?
Nope. That is, it's so funny how I just kind of Mr. Magoo'd my way into it. But we moved to Minnesota, and I had transferred from working at Ulta Beauty to working at Ulta Beauty. And there, I was just looking at job opportunities, and there was an interesting listing. And what really got my attention for it is that they offered sort of supplementary, like they offered to comp you a portion of what you expended on your education. And having student loan debt, I was like, oh, they would cover what I would spend on my paralegal program back if I stuck around. So
Wow.
sweet deal. So that was awesome. So it was
Yeah.
paid for, which I was really, really grateful for.
Are you able to work from home or hybrid, or do you work in office?
I work in an office, and it's actually going to tie into the ghost story section of
I'm
the
excited for
interview.
that. That's
Yeah, so
wonderful. Well,
that's
without further ado, then, let's move along and we will start our next 8 questions. And please, my darling, be forewarned. I have 2 more sets of 8 questions. So I have a
nice.
total of 8, or excuse me, 4 sets of 8 questions. I also have lightning rounds that we can go to if we ever end up like it's over in 20 minutes or something. Then we can go to lightning round questions.
Ooh,
But
very fun.
for now, we're just going to wallow through these 8 because you aced the other 8 so beautifully. So, what do you like best about where you live now? Now, that's a big question for you because you went through a huge life change to live where
Oh,
you live.
yeah. Is that in 2013, when we started that harvest cycle, sort of making life plans, I was pre-approved for just a truly colossal loan that was the exact amount that it would have cost to move out of state. And out of getting a lot of signs and redirects, that was like the big, like, universe's neon sign of like, we're handing you exactly the tools and the resources you need to move. So Beck and I mapped it all out, all of the steps. We loaded up a Penske truck and a little RAV4 and drove 3 days across the country to move from California to Minnesota. And it was fun and bittersweet. And I love and miss everybody in California dearly. Um, but wow, is the cost of living in Minnesota way more affordable. And opportunities just opened up for us, not so much in the winter, but that spring. Like, is this we got a bunch of opportunities. It's like, here's a really cool job opportunity here, here's a really cool job opportunity here. Beck became a receptionist. I That kind of got me into the inn of becoming a paralegal, because Beck worked as the receptionist there and was like, hey, I think you have a head on your shoulders for this. It's very academic. I think you'd like it. And when I went in for the interview, I really like connected with the gal who was interviewing me. It was a really, really cool gal who mostly works in trial witness. And she and I just got along really well. And it was like, this is awesome. And yeah, I got the offer, and it's been fun. Um, I think part of what I love about it is, in the context of my work specifically, is I don't get the impression that neurotypical people enjoy reading the same kinds of forms and documents over and over and over again. So it is a great niche for neurodiverse folks. So that's a kind of a fun windfall. And then about what I love the best about where I am is there's definitely a Minnesota. So something that I know you know about, coming from the South, and the sort of um, axiom of bless your heart, is there's a lot of different nuances. Is that there's a little bit of a malicious or facetious nuance, but then there's also
Mm.
the nuance of, no, I actually identify that you're struggling and genuinely wish you the best through
Yeah.
it. There's something similar in the concept of Minnesota nice, is that
Oh,
there's Minnesota nice that is like being conflict averse and wishy washy, but then there's also Minnesota nice that is sincerely Minnesota nice, where you do get people being compassionate and neighborly. Like I was riding my bicycle last summer and I wiped out, and a couple cars boxed in on either side to make sure that I like no one would run me over, and then no fewer than 5 people got out of their vehicles to come and check on me. And that really
Oh,
stuck with me, how many Minnesotans are just genuinely kind, proactive, good Samaritans. And there's a very real subculture of just being nice to each other that I really appreciate.
that is just wonderful because in California, you would have just gotten run over.
Yep.
True
Oh, yeah.
story. So you moved to Minnesota, among many other reasons, including the economy, because Beck wanted to be near water, if I remember correctly,
That's a big
and
part of it. Yeah.
doesn't play well with oceans. Is that correct?
Topical allergy to salt water. Yeah.
Yeah. So has Beck been able to enjoy any of the lakes there?
We've gone to Superior a couple times, which is virtually an inland sea and is really spectacular. Um, and then on a much smaller scale, sort of in the more southern portion, there's a really lovely area called Quarry Park that is it was an old granite quarry that was reclaimed and is a now like a nature preserve and swimming hole, and it's really unique and really cool.
That is wonderful. I picture any of the lake water being so cold.
Generally, yeah. During the summer, it's interesting because the summers are short, but the part of the summer that is the hottest is actually very tropical. A lot of people will
Wow.
take their tropical houseplants and set them outside for the 2 months that it's tropical conditions. Like we'd go riding our bikes and there would be like monstera and alocasia just outside,
Wow.
which is really fun.
I did not see that coming.
I didn't either when I moved here. Like, I
And
was
when
surprised
you
too.
your trip itself had a lot of challenges.
Oh
Uh,
yeah,
with car problems and things like that. And everybody back here was just so concerned about you, and you were great about keeping us updated. And so, yeah, you really wiggled your way into the heart of everybody in our group. And we're just glad that you and Beck are flourishing and getting what you need out there. And I'm really thankful for technology that we can
me
still visit.
too.
Yeah,
Me
that
too.
really helps. So, you, I know, have a number of dietary restrictions because of health concerns. What is your favorite meal? And I'm going to ask you to give me your favorite meal without considering dietary restrictions and the one that you actually can eat.
Nice. No holds barred. Let's go. I
Dream
do
big.
miss bread.
Say
I
that
love
again.
bread. It doesn't love me back. What?
Say it again.
Oh, like French bread
French
or
bread.
like garlic bread. Like garlic bread's very tasty because I love French bread and it does not love me back. At least not
Oh.
in the form that it's available in the United States. But um, when I was first diagnosed with diabetes, I also cut out carbs completely cold turkey, and then I found what I missed the most was actually potatoes.
Mm.
Potatoes and I have since been reunited.
That's
I
awesome.
I definitely had a time of putting into perspective how much I really enjoy potatoes.
I anytime that I've been eating low carb, that was my bread was hard, but the potatoes were really hard. Fruit secondarily a little bit hard, but the potatoes every meal I think I have some kind of potatoes involved, and so definitely miss those. I wonder if you could eat French bread from France. I wonder if they're do they just call it bread there?
Yeah, yeah. One would think potentially it sounds like there's not as many quick breads in Europe, and the a lot of the cultivars of wheat are different. So I do wonder if there's a lower gluten content worked
Maybe
in,
so.
if it's kind of like the relationship between tea and coffee, where with coffee you have that immediate hit of caffeine, while with green tea, it's sort of locked in with all the
Yeah,
complex molecules of the rest of it. I wonder if it might be less painful.
that's a good consideration. So if
So
you were
that's
putting together your perfect meal, like this is your birthday, and you want the perfect spread that you're going to sit down to, what would it be?
ooh. Um, in terms of what I can actually eat with relatively little labor, I love like caprese salad, like that fresh basil, fresh tomatoes, fresh mozzarella. That's a favorite of mine. Um, if it's like that hypothetical no holds barred, California has the best sushi, rivaled only by
Oh,
Japan. So having Californian sushi is definitely on the list.
now is that something else that doesn't agree with you? Is it the rice?
The breading. Rice is carby, so I do have to bear that in mind, and it's very high glycemic, so it's almost more like a sugar where your blood
Mm,
sugar can go pew and then
yeah,
pew. So I gotta be careful
got it.
about that.
So this next one I'm very curious about. What is your dream time like?
Usually vivid and in third person. I don't
Interesting.
know if the dreaming in third person is a dysphoria disassociation thing, um, but it's interesting.
Okay. I know that on this next one, you have a lot of points of reference. So usually with my dearest friends, I can kind of call what they're going to say. And this one, I have absolutely no clue what you're going to say because of your expansive experience in this regard. What animal do you most relate to and or enjoy the most? It can be both, it can be either.
For exactly the reasons that you wouldn't know the answer. I had a hard time figuring out the answer because I enjoy animals so much, and I really wanted to work in a biology field as a kid, and what really derailed that was just my inability to math, because math is so important to understanding physics and population and a lot of things that end up being involved in like biochemistry, all of that. I couldn't pass AP biology.
Mm,
Um, but when I had to narrow it down, I kind of landed on a couple of different anecdotes.
bring
One
it.
is when I was an itty bitty, like just a larva of a toddler. I would watch the cellar spiders in my grandma's skylight, and I have some very early memories of just watching spiders and being interested in them, and being the kind of autistic kid that speaks in sentences before individual words would like talk about arachnids. So spiders and I go way back. And then more recently, rabbits have been showing up, and rabbit iconography has been showing up a lot. Is I inherited a tea candle light holder that was rabbit shaped, which,
Hmm.
if it was an isolated incident, if it was just that one by itself, it's like, oh, okay, that's a cute little, one off, cute little tchotchke. But like rabbits just keep showing up. And then moving
Hmm.
to Minnesota, part of it's the local ecology and just the prairie as an environment, but we see cottontails all the time.
Wow.
So it's kind of like rabbits have shown up in a big way.
So I have to ask, is this rabbit tea light holder clear?
It is.
So Eric was given that tea light holder. I think it was before we met. So that would have been prior to 96. And he used to keep his quarters in it. And so he called it out. I need you to get ready for the precious. It was the money bunny.
Money
The money
bunny.
bunny, because he would
I
stack his
love
quarters
money bunny.
inside the tea light opening. Yeah. So I know exactly. And there's a cat and something else. I've seen several of them, but that's just a wonderful little votive holder. And or excuse me, tea light holder. And it looks great when it's lit up. So
Yeah. I
yeah.
would not be shocked if it was not the exact same make and model. There's a really good likelihood that it's the exact same one.
I actually was able to find one after the fire and replace it for him. Like, here's another money bunny for
Nice.
you. But it's really heavy. It feels like it's almost like quartz or something because it's so heavy.
Oh yeah.
Or lead crystal or something like that.
Lead crystal's kind of what I was thinking, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. And when we talk about the questions that I think I know the answer to, this is one of them. But you might surprise me, as you so often do, because you're very good at finding fascinating things that I'm not gonna know that you're gonna pull out of your pocket. And that is, what is the best job you've ever had, and what are the worst jobs you've ever had? And it could be more than one.
Yeah, I feel like working at Sequest managed to be both.
Oh,
Um, I really really loved interacting with people and animals, and I really valued that opportunity to reconnect with animal husbandry after not being able to pursue a career in biology. What made it one of the worst was there was a big disparity between the ethos of caring for the animals and the people who worked there that were passionate about it, and the model of making money off of the labor of people and animals and the exploitation of that time is that they because the focus was on making money, that took precedent over the well-being of both the employees and the animals, and that's what really wasn't okay, and that's what also made it one of the absolute worst.
sure. So to continue that story a little bit, that ultimately closed. And I
It
think
did.
you and Beck left before it closed.
We did, yeah.
Yeah. Um, so what was it like? I'm going to ask, and this may not have an interesting answer, and that's fine. What was it like to work at Ulta? What an interesting place. I would
Yeah,
imagine you'd
I
see this huge spectrum of people coming in there, or was it all pretty cookie cutter?
There was a pretty good spectrum of folks. It was interesting because it's definitely one of those life path things of it's not somewhere I envisioned myself being, but as soon as I entered the one in Folsom, I had this feeling of no, this is the right track. And I didn't know why, but I was like, okay, if you say so, boss, let's go.
Right?
Um,
So
but yeah, it was.
historically, I don't know if you still do or not, but historically, you have been very expressive with makeup.
Oh yeah, totally. It's a way to engage with art even on days where I don't have the time or bandwidth to paint or draw. Having a vehicle to paint on your face is very fun.
Yeah. What a nice canvas. So this is the question you mentioned before. Tell me, Bram, have you ever seen a ghost? And if so, what happened? And multiple stories are fine. And go.
Nice. This one's interesting too because how we define what a ghost is kind of predicated on cultural context because a lot of what I would think of as a ghost, someone from a much more Islamic or Abrahamic background would consider like a genie or a non-human intelligence or a fairy or things like that. But for ghosts, I think the two, I guess, classifications of ghost I would use would be something like an echo or like a stone tape recording, where it's just a residual haunting that is sort of part of the locus of a place and plays over and over. And then the other kind of flavor would be a spirit that is more sentient and more interactive. I've encountered a bit of both,
Ooh.
and some where I'm not sure which one it is. One of the earlier ones I can remember is, especially as a kid and a young adult, I always had an easier time connecting with animals than with people. So it was a lot of ghost cats. And then after our cat Jet passed away, I encountered a crisis apparition of him that was just kind of this abstract, like I would describe it in terms of the clairs. It's more clairsentience than anything else. It's just that sense of knowing, where it was just this feeling of everything's okay now. My sister and I are back together, and everything's all right. So that's one of the more vivid ones from childhood. And then there's a lot of little things that I'll see, and I don't necessarily categorize them in the ghost category or not, because there's not enough information. Because sometimes I'll see something and it'll be like, well, that could be a ghost, or it could be an old building, or that could be a ghost, or it could be the gap fill phenomena of my brain just didn't have enough information to fill in the gap, so it ad libbed. So things like that. So I tend to be kind of skeptical when it's just a little flicker of something. Usually it has to be pretty like hitting me over the face with it to for me to be like, oh, okay, this is definitely a ghost and not just something about pareidolia.
Hmm.
Um,
It's funny how our brains are like the shittiest AI program ever. Where,
mm,
where when it fills
yeah,
in those blanks, it'll just put something ludicrous there.
it's like, oh man, then all of a sudden the jacket on the chair at night got real spooky.
It sure did. You know, that always makes me think of the moon card in the tarot, which means things are not as they appear. Don't do anything rash based on what you're seeing right now, because there's stuff you're not seeing because the light's not on, basically. And that I always think of the pile of laundry at the end of the bed that turns into a monster in the moonlight.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, as you look back on your life, and we can go with different decades or however you'd like to break it up, what music, and it can be certain songs or certain types of songs or certain genres, would you say is a soundtrack for different decades in your life?
Yeah, breaking it down by decades and sort of eras is definitely a way to do it, because there's a lot. There's a lot of music and a lot of fun music and stuff you forget about, and then you hear it again. You're like, oh, I remember hearing that for the first time at a diner. Um, but when I was in college, I listened to Kesha's Warrior album a lot. So hearing that album still brings me back to that point. In high school, it was Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory. Listen to that one a lot, and that's also an interesting time travel-y one. And it's always really surreal when I listen to the newer Linkin Park stuff, because it's so different than that era, that
Mm-hmm.
you seeing how not only have I grown and changed as a person, but how the sort of artistic voice of that entire band has changed, especially after Chester's passing. So that's an interesting saga too.
Interesting. So this is one that's easy for me but difficult for some people. Plane, train, bus, car, or boat? Rank those suckers.
I think you had mentioned that you also didn't. No, I think I was going to say. I think you mentioned that you didn't have a lot of boat experience, but now that I think about it, I think you mentioned it being kind of rocky.
The Meniere's makes me have terrible
Oh, the
instantly.
balance. That makes sense. Yeah, because
Plus, I
since
don't
balance for sure.
swim, so I have this unbelievable fear of drowning.
Also entirely valid. I sympathize. The philosophophobia is real for sure. But I think in terms of in order of most preferred to least preferred, it's for me bike, bus, train, car, and then plane. And then with boat, it's more information needed. I haven't had a lot of boat experience outside of like little ferries or little speedboats on the lake. So I think my boat data is too small to know how I feel about boats.
That's fair. That is fair. Do you have a lot of bus experience?
Oh yeah, is I'm not good at driving, and neither Beck nor I particularly enjoy it. So I've taken public transit throughout college in the Bay Area, taking the BART and the bus, and then in Minnesota, in St. Cloud, Sartell, and Wake Park, taking the bus, and it's it's nice because you can text or meditate or do something
Mhm.
without having to have the fully integrated mental cyborg experience if I am integrated into my metal machine that's running on explosions that I have to guide correctly or else I might hurt someone or myself or both.
Okay.
So that's nice. It does mean having to be very proactive about structuring time, but
Yeah.
it's doable.
Yeah.
Some days, especially if it's crowded or if the public zeitgeist is particularly unhappy, there's a lot of fiery wall of protection that needs to go on with
There's a lot of
buses.
those sprays on the light rail where my clients have been doing this. Yeah. So something that I have not employed yet that you're going to be my first
Ooh,
is what we call the lightning round.
all
And
right.
that caps off some of our interviews. And so I need you to just get in your body, wiggle down in there, and just one of the things that you do best is spontaneously sharing info. So I know that you're good at this, and I know you're very self aware. So I think this is going to be a fun place to start this. So you ready?
I'll
It's
give
not
it a
hard.
shot.
Morning bird or night owl?
Ooh, I think in my heart of hearts, I'm still a night owl. I'm in the habit of pretending to be an early bird to function at work, and sunrises are pretty, and hearing the chickadees sing is fun. But on days where I could sleep in, I sleep in. So
Right
I
on.
think night owl.
So, given a preference with no dietary restrictions, do you prefer sweet or savory?
That's a tough one because I
Isn't
really
it?
like both.
I know
And
savory is so comforting and sweet is so
yeah,
uplifting. I couldn't pick.
absolutely. It's rough. I don't know if I could pick either. Um, yeah, no, I agree. And it's made further complicated by moving to the Midwest because being so close to Wisconsin, the dairy is really good. I have had some of the best ice cream and frozen custard
Mm,
I've ever had in my life up
wow.
here. It's some really good stuff. So it's like, oh,
I have
but
that. I know that it's escaping me, and I should know this. There's a word for it where you choose one and then you grieve the other because you didn't choose that one. And that's what I've got
yeah.
with sweet and savory. I can eat the most delicious sweet food, and I feel like something's missing if I don't also have a nice savory meal, and vice versa. If I have a wonderful savory meal and I don't have even just one bite of dessert, it feels like something's off in my chemistry.
They contrast each other, which I like. It's the same reason why I really enjoy having my coffee with my breakfast because one offsets the flavor of the other and you can kind of like clear your palate for one to enjoy the other more. And no,
Yeah.
I love that. I think one of my favorite things about being a living human being is that experience of having delicious food. That's something I really value.
Taste is just so phenomenal. And I wrote a whole book, Goddess in the Kitchen. The first half of it is about how those formative impressions we get of being nurtured by food and the people who give it to us, and how we associate that with really primal feelings, not just survival, but feelings of connection to other people. It's pretty intoxicating, actually.
It's a pretty major foundation of like human society and culture too because it ties you to the earth because you foster your plants and your animals from the earth that you then consume, so it ties
Yeah.
you to the land, but then it very often eating is a social activity with other
Mm-hmm.
people, so it's also a really major part of family holidays and memories
Sure.
and culture at large is that you meet someone over dinner like it's
Right.
It
That
is worth
awkward
it.
first date. You go out to coffee or you go out to dinner. If you want to impress your boss and ask for a raise, you take them out to dinner or you have them over for dinner. If you're celebrating a wedding, there's going to be a cake. If there's a birthday, there's going to be a cake. Oh, look, it's Susan's birthday in the office. We've got cake in the staff room,
Yes.
universal. I'm mesmerized, and I know they're out there, and I've met many of them, by people who say, food is only fuel for my body. I only eat to live. If I didn't need it, I wouldn't do it. Just wow. It's
It's like
such
not wanting.
a pleasure is unmatched.
Yeah. No, I think the closest I might be able to compare that to is like having tinnitus or like hearing problems, where it's like saying you don't want to taste things is kind of like saying you don't want to hear, which then makes me go, oh, is there something that makes that unpleasant? Or if it's
Right.
a trauma thing,
Yeah,
um, there
sure.
can be a lot of trauma around food too.
It's it's a pretty amazing experience, and I find it interesting the way that some people have one sense that's really uh, expressive for them more so than the other ones. And boy, and of course, when you're eating, you get the sense of smell in there as well. And when I had COVID and lost the sense of smell for weeks, no, my food didn't taste as good.
No.
Yeah.
When Beck and I had COVID, we got really frustrated that things with more delicate flavors weren't tasteable at all virtually. Like anything mild was just like flavor agnostic.
Yeah,
So
it was like
we ended
styrofoam, yeah.
yeah. So
Nice.
we ended up ordering the spiciest pho we could possibly get. And it's like, oh my goodness, I can taste the basil. Yes. Meanwhile, there's like tears streaming down
Yeah,
her eyes and her nose is running. And it's like,
that's
I
so
can taste the basil though. Yeah.
wow, yeah. So, call or text?
Ooh, probably text because well, call is meaningful because you get more of the verbal cues. I kind of have to psych myself up to
Right.
do calls.
They're a little labor intensive sometimes. And I this is a very Virgo thing. And I'm a text person, not only because of what I'm about to say, but also with the Meniere's, I have a hearing loss, and it's right at the frequency of a phone. So that I
Um,
can hear above it, I can hear below it, but that one frequency or whatever band it is, I don't hear well. So I have to use context clues constantly to figure out what somebody's saying. But the other reason is because, and again, this is the Virgo thing. Oh gosh, I hate to even say this out loud. There's proof.
I there's proof and
Yeah.
it gives you a little bit more time between your brain and your mouth to think about what's
Yeah.
being spoken or written. You don't get as many ums or likes or dudes
Right.
in text. Like it gives you a little bit of a buffer.
Yeah.
And I think the proof part is actually really important too, because
It
it's
is.
like otherwise, how would I know if I've told the same joke 7 times?
There's that. And that whole thing of
Yeah.
you're having a disagreement with somebody and they're saying, you never told me that. Literally scroll up and you will see where I told you. And you
Yeah.
blew right past it. Yeah, and that's a dysfunctional reason. You shouldn't have to want to prove that you're right using words, but again, it's also just a paper trail. It tells you, oh yes, I did tell them this, or yes, I did give them my phone number, or I can go back and find that phone number that I lost, or yeah, I'm a big fan of text.
Yeah.
So
And it's
if you were asked in a game with people you trust, truth or dare?
truth just about every time.
Me
I can't
too.
think of very many instances where truth wouldn't be the case, unless it's televised, in which case being judicious about who knows what is kind of important too. But that's kind of a uniquely like modern technology problem of like the concept of Foucault's panopticon of like if everyone can see you, how do you protect your energy? But especially
True.
people I
That is
trust.
true.
Absolutely, like truth every time.
You know, Eric is Mr. Like he's the king of fuck around and find out. So he would always be there, even though he doesn't mind telling the truth about anything. He's the most honest person I've ever met. But I'm not the dare person because even the people I love, I don't trust. They know me too well, so they're going to pick something that is going to be mortifying to me,
No
even in
snakes are going
love.
to be involved, I promise. Yeah.
It's much easier. I'll just tell you the truth, whether you want to hear it or not. Here you go. So, comedy or horror?
Ooh, they're both really good, and they're both really good for almost the same reasons. And that is, both of them um, have a lot of emotional catharsis involved in them, and also with both oh shush you with both comedy and horror, um, they're one of the few genres that's allowed to be really culturally transgressive. Is that because you're either making light of society's
Mm-hmm.
anxieties or you are specifically and intentionally playing on the fears of
Well
society.
done.
Both comedy and horror can talk about things other genres can't.
That was a great answer. And so, with that great answer, we will finalize. You did wonderfully on the lightning round, our first ever lightning round on Katrina Rasmussen and Friends. And I appreciate you being game for that. I didn't really give you a choice, but I guess you could have signed off. But you did it, and you were awesome. Thank you.
No
And
worries.
is there anything going on in your life or that you've read or been a part of lately that you'd like to promote or mention to people or anything like that? If not, it's okay. But you have the phone.
Ooh. Yeah, that's a good question. I was having the brain sidetrack of wearing the Herberger's sweater and then not talking about the Herbergeist. We the office I work in has a ghost that Beck affectionately refers to as the Herbergeist. Is a
Ooh,
sharp dressed gentleman in a fawn colored suit and red tie. And I don't know if he's just a stone tape recording or if he's something else. He just kind of is. But
well,
yeah, that was another one of the ghost things is just the Herbergeist.
good. I'm glad
Um,
that came up.
yeah, and it's fascinating too because watching people react differently to the unknown is interesting because for me, I'm like the paranormal is just normal. It's just part of the natural world we don't understand yet.
Right.
But there are a lot of people who don't feel comfortable sort of sitting with that uncertainty or things that are outside of like that level of understanding. So
Yeah.
bless his heart, our property manager watched the um, elevator open and close and run up and down on its own, and
Mhm.
he's like, "What the heck's going on?" And Beck and I were like, "It always does that." And he's like, "Why?" And we're like, "I don't know. We joke that it's the Herbergeist, and we just kind of wave and smile." And then he's like, "I don't want to think about this ever again," and then walks away.
That's like not eating food for taste. It's locking off a whole part of our experience. I don't know about you, but I think some of the finest experiences I've ever had have been ones where I didn't know what was going on and was just a baby in that experience, like with ghosts. They're having their experience and you're just there and are a part of it. And you have control because you're a human, but you've got zero influence really on what they're doing. And you can just feel and watch. It's like being in the middle of a virtual reality movie or
Oh yeah.
something that's going on. So yeah, I don't think that you ever, because usually you were here with a lot of people in our house, and our ghosts are not very active when there are other people around, a lot of people. So I wish you could have felt some of the ones that are here because they're really cool.
Nice.
It's kind of like the show Ghosts, where we're not that interactive with them, not to the level that the show is, but they're just this group, this little band of people that's just here in the house with us. It's pretty crazy.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And it's this kind of like um I always think of John and describing the Fae and things unseen as our good neighbors, and it's the same
Oh, I
kind of
like
thing where it's
that.
like, oh, it's just our neighbors.
Yeah. Just sharing the world. Yeah. That's like when people say that they don't have anything to do with the land spirits in their area. To me, that's like sharing a house with somebody, a roommate, and you just don't talk to them or interact with them at all.
I
Yeah.
agree. That's something that's important to me too. And something that's interesting about St. Cloud is there's so much iron in the granite that it creates weather anomalies. Like
Mm,
storms will come up, pass over the Twin Cities, and then go swoop around St. Cloud and right into Brainerd.
wow.
Um, so it's interesting looking at like the natural agates and the natural granite and the ecosystems, like learning about prairie and experiencing a world that's flat after growing up in the
Right.
mountains. Like
Right.
it's really
Huh.
interesting.
So you're also a big time plant person. And did you have to change what types of plants you cultivate when you moved to Minnesota?
I absolutely did, because in California I was able to keep succulents really well with no problem. In Minnesota, it's dry in the winter because all the water is either frozen outside or being evaporated by heaters. And then it's really, really humid during the summer where
Sure.
it's like tropical. So I was in the habit of overwatering my succulents to compensate for how arid Northern California is.
Mm-hmm.
So when I moved to Minnesota, I would overwater them in the summer and they would melt.
Getting flat,
So
wet feet then. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I could see
So
that happening.
I definitely had to kind of switch gears, but
Yeah.
uh, coleus, which are related to mints, like
I
painted
love coleus.
nettles, they're really pretty. They do really, really well
They
up
are.
here.
When I
I've
lived
been able
on
to. Go ahead.
when I lived on Guam, the Thai ladies, because a lot of the military would marry Thai people or Filipino people, and the Thai ladies and the Filipino ladies, particularly when we lived on base housing, used to take coleus and they would make a hedge around their entire front yard with them.
Ooh,
And they would get to be about knee height and
wow.
just thick and beautiful. And I always envied that. And they wouldn't grow as well for me. They had some secret. I don't know what they put in those plants, but they would just flourish. Of course, Guam is very tropical. And just these beautiful coleus hedges. I was always very envious. And of course, I can't grow them here in the mountains. So,
Right. Because of that humidity, yeah. The I've actually had a really good run of tropicals up here that I've not had in California, but then my arid plants aren't as happy, so it's
mm.
a big pivot.
Well, thank you for being here today, Bram, and coming in for round two. And I look forward to talking to you again. It's always so nice to catch up, and all these wonderful people get to sit in on our exciting conversation. So thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you. It was a ton of fun.
Good.
It means a lot to me. Thank you very, very
Thank
much.
you. We'll say goodbye now, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next
Bye,
time.
everybody.
Bye bye.